I used to believe the worst thing a person could do was leave you. I was wrong. Leaving is clean. Leaving is simple. What my wife did wasn't leaving. It was extraction. Quiet, steady extraction. Like someone draining the air from a room while staring you in the eyes, smiling the whole time. The day she walked out, she took the keys to our house, 2 suitcases, the dog, and the last pieces of hope I had left for our marriage. I didn't scream. I didn't chase. I just watched her through the window, her hair shining under the porch light, her voice soft as she said, "You'll be fine. You always land on your feet." She said it like a compliment. It felt like a eulogy. 2 weeks later, the divorce papers came, cold, neatly typed, delivered like a package. She listed every asset we owned, checked every box she wanted. The house, the savings, even my truck if it came down to it. She called it equitable. Her lawyer called it fair. I called it what it was, a knife. What I didn't know then was that she hadn't left because of irreconcilable differences. She left because she was already halfway into someone else's bed. Not a random man, not a coworker, but someone I had once invited to our house for a barbecue. Someone, she insisted, was just a friend. His name was Luke. I found out the way betrayed husbands often do, badly, by accident. I'd gone back to the house one afternoon to grab a box of things she told me she'd leave on the porch. Nothing important, just some shirts, old books, my shaving kit, except when I got there, the box wasn't on the porch. It was inside the house, and the door was locked. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. I was about to leave when I heard laughter, hers, then a man's, then footsteps. It took everything in me not to kick the door open. Instead, I walked away, slow, controlled, jaw clenched so tight I tasted blood. I remember that whole drive back feeling unreal, like I was watching myself from outside my own body. My wife, who once made me promise never to lie to her, had been lying to me for months, maybe longer. But I still didn't confront her, didn't scream, didn't demand answers. Pain makes some people explode. It makes me plan. A week after the divorce filing, her lawyer emailed us a draft of what she wanted. A full claim to the house, half of my retirement, full custody of the dog, spousal support for the woman who left me for another man. We met once, in person, in a conference room with polished floors and a table so shiny I could see my own heartbeat in it. She sat across from me in a white blazer, hair curled soft around her shoulders. She looked peaceful, fixed, like someone who had moved on so far. I was nothing more than a memory she had to formally discard. Her lawyer spoke for her. My lawyer spoke for me. She didn't look at me except once. When I said I wanted the house, she laughed, not loud, not cruel, but small, dismissive, like the idea was ridiculous. "You can't afford the house," she said calmly. "You can't even afford this divorce." Her lawyer placed a hand on her arm, trying to calm her. But she wasn't heated. She was confident, like someone standing on a hill, looking down on a man stuck in the mud. I looked at her for a long moment. I didn't argue. I didn't tell her what she didn't know, that I had recordings, screenshots, bank transfers she thought she'd hidden, messages she didn't realize, synced to our shared cloud, evidence of her affair, evidence of her using our joint account to fund hotel nights and gifts for Luke. I never planned to use them, but she made a mistake. She pushed. After that meeting, she sent me a text. One that changed everything. You're too nice. That's the problem. You never fight for anything. It's why I'm taking the house. You just accept things. That was the last time I ever let her define me. Weeks passed. Hearings were delayed. Lawyers exchanged documents. She kept pushing for more. Every time she spoke through her attorney, the version of me she described sounded nothing like the man I was. She painted me as broke, unmotivated, less capable, less successful. She even suggested my business was unstable, despite the fact that I was the one paying the mortgage for the very house she lived in half the time. She didn't even show up to the hearings herself. She sent her lawyer, choosing brunch with her friends or weekend trips with Luke instead. But the final hearing, she made sure to attend. She walked in wearing a navy dress, her best friend trailing behind her like a shadow. Her best friend, Zoe, the one who used to hug me on holidays, the one who used to say, "You're so good for her. She's lucky." The same Zoe who stopped making eye contact with me the moment things got messy. They sat together, whispering, glancing back at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of their shoes. My wife kept her phone face down on the table, but it buzzed every 3 minutes, Luke. I knew the pattern. I knew everything. Her lawyer opened with a speech that felt rehearsed. He painted her as a hard-working woman, rebuilding her life. He said she deserved stability, deserved her home, deserved support. He said I was financially inferior and emotionally unpredictable. I stayed quiet. Then my lawyer stood. He placed a thick folder on the judge's bench. Not a flashy folder, not silver, just a normal manila one. My wife barely looked up until the judge said something I will never forget. Before I review this, is the petitioner aware that a witness has filed an independent testimony? Her lawyer blinked. A witness? The judge nodded. Yes. A witness requested to be added to today's hearing. And given the content, I approved it. My wife stiffened. Who? The judge looked toward the door. Bring her in. Heads turned. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. And when the door opened, my wife's best friend walked inside. But not Zoe, the other one. The one she thought would never betray her. The one she thought would always keep her secrets. And the look on my wife's face, it was the first real fear I had seen from her in a long time. It took her a second to process who she was looking at. Emily, her oldest friend, her college roommate, the friend she told me would always choose her side no matter what. Except Emily wasn't walking in smiling. She wasn't walking in sitting beside my wife. She wasn't walking in looking proud. She walked in like someone carrying a weight, head down, shoulders tight, mouth pressed into a thin line, and she sat on my side of the courtroom. My wife's breath hitched. I heard it, a soft, sharp sound, like a seam tearing. Her lawyer leaned close, whispered urgently. She whispered back, frantic. He frowned. Emily avoided my wife's eyes completely. The bailiff swore her in. She raised her hand, with fingers trembling not, but like someone fighting a storm only she could feel when she spoke. Her voice cracked on the first word. I wasn't planning to talk, she said quietly, but I have to. I need to tell the truth. The judge nodded. Take your time. My wife finally found her voice, barely. Why are you even here? Emily didn't look at her. Not once, because someone has to stop this, she whispered. Her lawyer objected instantly. Your Honor, this witness wasn't the judge, raised a hand. Sit down. I approved her testimony after reviewing her statement last night. It directly pertains to this case. My wife paled. She looked at Emily like she was watching someone walk away with a lit match in a room full of gasoline. Emily twisted her hands together. I'm not proud of any of this. I made a lot of stupid choices. I lied for her. I covered for her. And I saw things I should have reported. My wife's voice shook with anger. Emily, stop. But Emily didn't. I'm sorry, she said, turning to me for the first time. I should have told you sooner. And then everything she had kept quiet, everything she had hidden, everything my wife thought would remain buried, started unraveling. She told the court when the affair started. Not just the timeline my wife had been pretending after we separated. Told the real beginning. 14 months earlier, she told the court how my wife used me financially while planning a future with Luke, how she drained the joint account little by little, calling it groceries or family expenses, then spending it on trips, dinners, and gifts for another man. She told the court that my wife bragged about getting the house, bragged about manipulating the narrative, bragged about how the court always sides with the woman. My wife's jaw shook. Her hands covered her face. Emily swallowed hard and continued. She said she never meant to get involved, but my wife kept pulling her in, asking her to lie, asking her to alibi, asking her to delete messages. Then Emily said the thing that finally made my wife crack. She asked me to testify that she pointed to me, was emotionally unstable and financially irresponsible and an unfit partner. My wife slammed her palm on the table. That's not what happened. The judge's voice boomed. You will sit down and stay silent, or I will have you removed. She sank into her chair, shaking, mascara streaked, breath uneven. Emily looked at her for the first time. You told me he was controlling, she said softly. But he never controlled anything. You did every detail, every expense, every narrative. Then she turned to the judge. And there's more. My wife closed her eyes, like she knew what was coming. Your Honor, she didn't leave the marriage because she fell in love with someone else. She left because she wanted the house. Luke wasn't the reason. He was the bonus. The plan was the house. She said she earned it by putting up with him. My stomach churned. Hearing the words out loud hit differently. Emily took a shaking breath. She told Luke the house was already hers. She said he could move in the week after the divorce. Look at the messages. They're in there. In the folder he submitted. The room turned into ice. The judge flipped open the folder, the manila one my attorney had submitted earlier. She pulled out printed texts. Then she read ... and each line was another nail. I'm getting the house. He's too broke to fight. He's emotionally weak. Fold. Just let him think I'm done. Then I'll take everything. You and I can redo the bedroom. Don't worry, he'll have nothing. He can't afford a lawyer anyway. My wife covered her face with both hands. Her shoulders shook. Her lawyer looked like he wished he could crawl through the floor. The judge raised her eyes slowly. Mr. Reed, when did you obtain these? My lawyer answered. After my client's wife left the shared home, the cloud backup remained linked to his account. The judge nodded. Completely permissible. Emily wasn't finished. She bowed her head. I'm sorry. I should have spoken sooner. But I thought she'd wake up. I thought she'd stop before it got this far. I didn't think she'd try to ruin him financially, or lie to a court. I didn't know she'd. My wife screeched then. Stop talking. Her voice cracked like glass. She lunged halfway out of her chair, hand outstretched like she wanted to grab Emily and physically shut her up. The bailiff sprang forward. The judge slammed her gavel. Sit down now, or you will be held in contempt. Silence. Then my wife sank back. Tears streaked, shoulders trembling, the picture of someone watching their own foundation crumble beneath them. Emily's statement ended with a single sentence that sealed everything. He didn't deserve this. You know he didn't. The judge dismissed her from the stand, and then the courtroom shifted. Everything shifted. The judge folded her hands. I've seen many divorces, many betrayals, but rarely do I see premeditated manipulation this extensive. Your entire case, Mrs. Reed, was built on lies, coercion, and financial exploitation. My wife sobbed openly, now quiet, shaking sobs. The judge continued. You accused your husband of instability. Yet the only instability I see is in your behavior. You drained joint accounts. You hid assets. You fabricated claims. You coerced a witness. And you attempted to use this court as a weapon, my wife whispered. No, no, please, no. But the judge wasn't listening to her anymore. She turned to my attorney. The respondent is awarded the house as his sole property. My wife let out a choked, wounded sound. The judge continued. Spousal support is denied. In fact, she eyed my wife coldly. She will reimburse him for half of the mortgage. Payments made since separation. Her lawyer's jaw dropped. And finally, she said, looking directly at my wife, any attempt to mislead this court again may result in sanctions or jail time. The room went silent, not the soft kind, the heavy kind, the kind that comes right after a storm destroys everything that needed destroying. When the judge adjourned, my wife slumped forward as if she'd lost the ability to hold herself up. Her lawyer frantically whispered options, none of which existed anymore. Emily stood near the exit. She wiped her eyes, but didn't approach me. I walked past her, paused, and said quietly, thank you. She nodded once, voice barely audible. I just couldn't lie for her anymore. In the hallway, my wife caught up to me. She grabbed my sleeve, her eyeliner smudged, her voice hoarse. You ruined me. I looked at her for a long second. No, I said softly. You ruined yourself. I just stopped letting you use me as the tool to do it. She stared at me with something between rage and grief, something raw, something wrong. Then she whispered the one thing that proved she still didn't understand any of it. You don't deserve that house. I stepped back. I remembered all the nights I'd fixed pipes, painted walls, built shelves, trimmed hedges, made meals, paid bills, stayed loyal. I remembered how she left me in it with an empty refrigerator and 2 trash bags of clothes. Then I said the quietest truth. I knew that house deserved better than you. She froze. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She walked away without another word. Outside, sunlight hit the pavement. The air felt new, lighter, like someone had lifted a weight off the sky itself. I walked to my truck, opened the door, sat down. For the first time in a long time, I breathed without shaking. My wife cheated. She took the house. She tried to take everything. She called me broke. She laughed at me. She underestimated me. But the moment her best friend walked into court, her entire world unraveled, not because of revenge, not because of anger, not because of cruelty, but because the truth always walks in eventually, sometimes on steady feet, sometimes with trembling hands, sometimes carrying its own guilt, but always, always on time.